Welcome to Unity Inspired Living. Our community began in 1989 as a small worldwide Unity book study group, and we've continued the momentum as an ever-evolving spiritual community. Each Sunday, you will find dynamic thought leaders delivering inspiring messages and talented musicians sharing sound healing through their melody. Here, we embrace ancient spiritual traditions, universal truths, and emerging wisdom. Let's check out this Sunday message. We're so grateful you've joined us. Welcome in, precious people that we call family here at Unity Inspired Living. I'm so grateful to be here with you this Sunday. My name is Amy Vanling, and it fills my heart with joy to welcome you into our gathering of love and inspiration and fun and transformation. We do have a lot of fun here, and we're grateful that you're here. And so as you arrive, take a moment to just greet one another. When you see someone else's name, send them love through the Facebook live stream, because it is felt. It makes a difference. It matters. You can even reply to others in the chat, and that's fun too. This connection is part of our collective energetic field and how we exchange energy. Hi, Michael J. Welcome in. Jan is here. She says, good morning, everyone. Welcome, Jesse and Shani. We're so blessed to have you both here with us the last day of November. And Michael J says, hello, beautiful beloveds. Joy and love surrounds us all. Yes, I affirm this. Thank you, sweet, sweet people, for being here with us and co-creating this space. We are wrapping up this month. Hard to believe, but it is true. And our theme has been for November, the frequency of miracles. And whenever I hear miracles, I just think of A Course in Miracles. And A Course in Miracles reminds us that a miracle is really just a shift in perception from fear to love, however you'd like to word that. And it really is a shift in perception. As we were live streaming today, I'm in a hotel, and sometimes in hotels there's different things that pop up just to get us into Facebook. And so, there's this thing that pops up, and Shani says it's an opportunity for flexibility, for willingness to, shift and move. And that's true. It's always about your perception. So as we do wrap up this month and we carry the warmth of this Thanksgiving, gratitude that we've been experiencing the last week into this final Sunday, we are just leaning into that simple truth that we get to be the captain of our ship and shift our perception whenever we decide to. So miracles aren't necessarily these distant or dramatic moments. They're these small inner openings that change everything. And so we're going to tune into that frequency of love and noticing how that shift really can reveal blessings that were always here, waiting to be seen. So thank you for being here on this journey, this exploration with us. We are so honored today to welcome back Dr. Shani Robbins. He is phenomenal human, a visionary. He bridges science with spirit in a really profound way. He pioneered the field of wisdom therapy. He's a licensed psychologist by the California Board of Psychology, and he is the founder of Wisdom Therapy Institute since 2000. He's a pretty amazing human being, and we are so grateful that he's here because his work blending positive psychology and emotional intelligence and wisdom therapy teaches us how to live consciously, compassionately, joyfully. And we are so grateful for you, Dr. Shani Robbins, for shining the light on sort of the silent science of wellness and happiness and wisdom, and bringing that to us, and also reminding us that spirituality is part of it all. It's practical. And we embrace that. So thank you for saying yes and being here with us today. The message is stages of development across the lifespan. And when we close up the live stream here, we're going to move into the Zoom room for a Q&A with Dr. Shani Robbins. Such an opportunity to dive deeper into the stages of development across the lifespan. And we are so grateful for this time together. Thank you for saying yes to us and being here.
Great to be here. Thank you for the invite. It's been many years now.
Yes, it has been many years, and we're
Yeah,
grateful, so
you guys
grateful
are
for
very
that.
patient with my musings.
We love them. We love your musings. You make us smile and laugh, and you always have the best jokes. So super grateful. We also have on the screen with us and deep gratitude for Jessie Powers. She is a voice that I don't know, sometimes these things just happen where you just find people, and she just came across and I was like, I love her. Let me find out who she is. I want to connect with her, and here she is. And we're so grateful. Her voice just carries the language of the heart. Um, I read somewhere, I don't know where, but I remember reading this and thinking, yes, Jessie's music is like musical skydiving experience. And I say, yes, doesn't that just urge you to like lean in or jump in or something? So she does. Her music opens us up like, sunrise through the clouds. So thank you for blessing us, blessing this space today, saying yes to us. We're so happy that we've met you and have you in our community now. We also have on the screen our beautiful, open-hearted, sweet Nancy. She is here sharing her splendor and her brilliance, and also bringing us the inspirational reading today and our prayer of gratitude to ignite our abundance, mindset, heart space, all of the things. So thank you for being here, Nancy. Thank you, all of you on the screen, for being here and creating our space, and all of you tuning in to this space, because we are co-creating together. We are journeying together, and it is a blessing to do that. So welcome in everybody. I see everybody tuning in, Luwinda and Florence and Karen and Kathy. Yay! I'm so glad we're all here. It makes me smile to see you, all of your names here in the chat. So I invite you, as you come in, to send love to everybody that you see on the screen, everybody that you see in the chat, and have that energetic exchange, and bring your breath to maybe a space, a pause, where you can just feel into presence, to this moment, to the miracles that are here, and allow yourself to be at peace and open your heart. And I'm reminding us of our mission statement this morning, because I like to kind of bring us back to, like, what are we doing here? What is our journey about? And it is about fostering love and wisdom, inspiring transformation, offering compassionate outreach, and embracing unity. And we are going to open now with our community song. So I'm going to hand the screen over to Jessie, and just remember that singing aloud gets it all moving in your body. So sing aloud at home.
Yes.
Thanks, Jessie.
That is true. Also dancing. It's very good.
Dancing, yes.
And we can't see you. So if you're all embarrassed about it, you don't have to be. It's just you there. And maybe your cat. All right, y'all know this one. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Singing and playing. I'm singing and playing with my mind, like me, stayed on spirit. I'm singing and playing with my mind, stayed on spirit. I'm singing and playing with my mind, stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Okay, I think the next one's maybe like walking and talking, yeah. I'm walking and talking with my mind, stayed on spirit. I'm walking and talking with my mind, stayed on spirit. I'm walking and talking with my laugh, love. Laughing and loving. Here we go. I'm laughing and loving with my mind. Stayed on spirit. I'm laughing and loving with my mind. Stayed on spirit. I'm laughing and loving with my mind. Stayed on spirit. Hallelujah. 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 One more time. Hallelujah. 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 I lied. One more time. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Well, if that wasn't an emotional and musical skydive, I don't know what is. Everybody loves that song. I think that's the fun in it, when you really know a song and that you just tune in. It's like the frequency is already there. Thank you, Jesse. We love you and appreciate you. Okay, Nancy, I'm going to hand the screen over to you for all the things you have to share with us.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Please join us after the service for our workshop with Shani, which will begin at 11:30. This is a very special time and is a Q&A for those who have questions for Dr. Shani Robbins regarding stages of development across the lifespan. What are you curious about? Now is your chance to ask Shani. All are welcome. Mark your calendars for our December monthly meandering. Join friends for a joyous holiday concert performance by the Brentwood Community Chorus, featuring our own Kathy Culler and Christy Costa on Saturday, December 6th at 2 p.m. at the Bristow Middle School in Brentwood. Tickets can be purchased. Please see the weekly connection for the link, or you can purchase them at the door. As we continue our monthly meanderings, we are now looking ahead to the new year for events that are engaging and fun for our community. Please let Jan or me know of activities you are willing to organize and coordinate. And also, let me know if you are willing to host one of our third Saturday community gatherings in 2026. And for our end of the year giving, as we close out 2025, we're feeling the power of community, connection, and generosity, and it's your support that helps us finish this year strong. If this spiritual home has uplifted you, inspired you, comforted you, or reminded you that you belong, now is the moment to give a meaningful high five back. And because we love a little fun with purpose, add 25 cents to the end of your gift as a wink to 2025. Whether it's $25.25, $100.25, or $500.25, every quarter carries connection, intention, and momentum. Your gift right now matters. For those of you sending in your high five contributions via Zelle, PayPal, or check at the in-person service next Sunday, or via USPS before the end of December, we have a very special thank you gift coming your way. Know how grateful we are and that we are totally funded by your contributions. Now mark your calendars for December 7th, in-person service with our own Amy in the West Island Room at the Antioch Community Center beginning at 10 o'clock, followed by our community holiday food and frivolity at Jan's home beginning at 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then Wallem House Christmas Party is on December 14th. Let me know if you can help. And collections, all need to be in by December 7th at our in-person service. I'll have boxes for each group. You can also bring them to the party at Jan's home, or at the very latest, drop them off at my home Wednesday, December 10th. We're collecting men's socks. We're seeing 150 pairs flowing in. Gifts for the Wallem House women, women and children, and gift cards for the teens. And men's and women's warm clothing, hats, gloves, tarps, and there has been a special request for toothbrushes and toothpaste for the unhoused in our communities. See the weekly connection for all the details or contact me. Sunday, December 20th at 11 to 2 at Kelly Turner's home. Bring a friend and family and join us for a short discussion about the meaning of Christmas, a joyful and fun holiday sing-along led by John Shin, and a delicious potluck after the music. This is one of our favorite community gatherings of the year, so be sure to mark your calendar. We also invite you to join in our community in making a donation to the Mitchell Van Ling Memorial Fund to support Karen Mingus's granddaughter, Shaylin, who sustained major injuries in a catastrophic auto accident earlier this summer. We will be completing our fundraising for Shaylin at the end of December, so please mark your contributions as soon as possible on our website under Giving. And we encourage you to stay connected with all that is going on here at Unity Inspired Living by checking in on our website, unityinspiredliving.org, and our Facebook page, Unity Inspired Living, and also reading our weekly connection, which comes to your email weekly on Wednesdays. If you have signed up for the mailing list, if you haven't, please let me know and I can get you on that list. Be sure to like and share while you are at our site. And now for our inspirational reading. We might want to take a deep breath, huh? The reading today is from the Daily Word, and the word is serendipity. As Jan mentioned last week, Reverend D. Jacqueline says serendipity is evidence of miracles. I expect and enjoy moments of serendipity. Serendipity is a happy dance, a stroke of luck. It shows up as a small joy or delight that brightens my day. I don't want to miss any serendipitous events, so I'm careful to look for them everywhere I go. How fortunate that I happened to be outside one night at the very moment a shooting star streaked across the sky. What are the odds that I could find the exact item I wanted as soon as I walked into the store, and then find it on sale at the same time? Each time I note serendipity, I celebrate inwardly. My life is blessed. My gratitude is abundant. My awareness of God is full. I see each of these moments as an evidence of my eternal connection with the infinite. I accept each one as a gift to nourish my soul. Psalms 37:4. Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. We are grateful for you. I know when you said we might need a breath, I said, you definitely need a breath after all those announcements. We have a lot going on in December. I just like to mention for those of you who do like to give and not sure what to do, on Amazon, they have amazing packages of socks and hats and gloves and things like that. And you can ship them straight to Nancy, which is what I do. I love it. It's easy. And so that's an option too. Thank you, Nancy, for heading all of that up and just being that community outreach person for us. We are so grateful that we are able to give and share in that way. So we are going to hand the screen back over to Jessie. She has more music for us. Thank you, Jessie.
Yes. I'm excited to play this one in honor of the Thanksgiving season. To be thankful for all those little miracles, all those little things that pop up in our daily lives. Don't you let yourself fall in again. Your name ain't Alice. Keep your feet flat on the floor. Take a breath and take a break before you chase the rabbit. It's a bad habit, but gratitude is the cure. And I'm thankful for all of the blessings, thankful for the well-learned lessons. I'm thankful for all of the blessings, oh Lord. So thankful, thankful for all we've been given, thankful for the joy that we're living. I'm thankful for all we've been given, oh Lord. So thankful. I'm thankful, 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 thankful. Thankful, 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 thankful. Overflowing with the gift of life. Yeah, I'm a vessel richer than the Queen of Hearts. 'Cause I know the quickest way to Wonderland is standing in the present. You don't always have to struggle through the dark. And I'm thankful for all we've been given. I'm thankful for the joy that we're living. I'm thankful for all we've been given, oh Lord. I'm so thankful, thankful for all of the blessings. Thankful for the well-learned lessons. I'm thankful for all of the blessings, oh Lord. So thankful. I'm thankful, 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 thankful. I'm thankful, 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 thankful. Now here's your part. Ready? It's really easy. Thankful, thankful. Sing that. Thankful, thankful, so thankful, 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 so thankful, thankful, thankful. And I'm thankful for all we've been given. I'm thankful for the joy that we're living. I'm thankful for all we've been given, oh Lord. I'm so thankful, thankful for all of the blessings. Thankful for the well-learned lessons. I'm thankful for all of the blessings, oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord. Thankful, 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 thankful. I'm thankful, 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 thankful. Yeah, 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 yeah. Thankful, 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 thankful. The sun came out. Woo!
Yay! I know you were glowing. It was coming, it was shining on you. It is still shining on you. Oh, thank you. What a great song. We're so grateful. So much love coming in through the chat, Jesse. Love your style and song, Jesse. Yes, we all say yes.
Ah, thanks.
Thank you, sweetie. Okay, I'm going to hand the screen back over to Nancy. Nancy has our prayer of plenitude for us this morning. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you. Taking a slow, deep breath, exhale. I invite you to join me now as we move into a space of oneness with Spirit. We quiet our minds and open to the great realization of an abundant universe. We connect with inner stillness that is grounded in the divine flow of giving and receiving. We practice gratitude for all that life gives us and accept there is more coming our way. We align and operate from our divine nature to give freely from a compassionate heart to ourselves and others, assured we are never void. We set our intention to engage in right action that attracts opportunities to prosper. We are each very grateful spirit expanding in this human life. We are gratefully succeeding in stepping forward into greater good. And so it is.
Thank you so much, Nancy. We're grateful. Handing it right back over to Jesse to for some more music. I think it's the language that doesn't need any translation at all. Speaks directly to our souls. Thank you, Jesse.
So true. That's
Yeah.
why I love it. This is a song about the miracle of being, and more particularly of breathing. So I invite you to breathe with me. I don't want to give words to this. Anything you have to interpret will only eclipse the heart of it. I just want to send it in sound with a wavelength clarity. Ooh, nothing I could ever say will resonate the same way that this love does in me. Inhale, exhale, breathe. somewhere in the beat of your heart, there I am. And somewhere underneath all the war-torn believing, there you have always been. It's something like a melody, it's something like a song, and it sings itself, and it's never wrong. Oh, everywhere it plays for me, it's always on repeat. It's the love song of everything. Inhale, exhale, breathe. It's not just there in my body, it's not just there in the thoughts that I think, it's there in the roots and the skies and the seas, in the eyelids, the irises, the wind and the wings, in the will be, the ever was, the reason, and the just because. I am the song that I sing. Inhale, exhale,
Absolutely beautiful song. Thank you. Thank you, Jesse. So much love coming in, pouring in for you. We love you, Jan says. Jesse, your voice, your words, your energy, we're very thankful. She speaks for all of us. Yes, yes. Thank you so much for bringing yourself, your soul to us. It was much appreciated. Thank you both, Jesse and Nancy, for the harmonies you both brought to activating our space this morning and adding so much light and love and fun and joy. You are treasures to us, to our community. Thank you for being here. We will see you on this side. It's always when I have a background, it's like a weird thing, but we'll see you on the Facebook live stream. Mwah. Blessings to you both. We appreciate you so very much. Yay, everybody. I see you all here. Thank you for being here, everybody who's tuning in. We are here with Dr. Shani Robbins. It is always a joy and fun and just like really soulful, down to earth. We just get down to business and chat about all the things. And I just love that about Dr. Shani Robbins. We are so grateful for this message today, stages of development across the lifespan. And that this is like packs a punch, you know, because I mean that's a big statement there. That's why we're going to go into the Q&A after and get even deeper. So I'm going to pray us in and then hand the screen right over to Dr. Shani Robbins this morning. So I just say, let's pause in gratitude for the countless miracles that surround us every moment. The sun, the rising of the sun, the breath that is breathing us, the connections of the heart to heart with people, the people we love and care for, opening up our awareness, realizing that we're swimming in the miracles and that this frequency of grace and peace and love is always here, inviting us to trust deeper, surrender, to allow. And today we're choosing to tune ourselves into that frequency, that song of miracles. And we are blessing Shani today as he brings the message to us. We know that he is a clear channel for wisdom, for spirit's wisdom, for divine intelligence to inspire wonder and We bless him, we cover him in love and light, and we're so grateful for the infinite power of love that he brings to our community. And I release this word into the great expanse of love, in love, for love, as love, magnified, multiplied, made manifest. And so it is. Ashe, amen, namaste. Thank you, Dr. Shani Robbins. It's all yours. Oh, you're muted.
This symbol in there somewhere. It's great to be here. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here. And let me start with, let me share my screen. And this is always a good start for any talk. A physician once said the best medication for humans is love. Someone asked, what if it doesn't work? He smiled and said, increase the dose. And in February, when I'm going to do a follow-up talk to this regarding, it's going to be right before Valentine's Day. So this is our annual tradition at this point, wisdom and love. And so every Valentine's Day, I come back with what my latest thinking on these things are. And this is going to be the same. So this is part one of these two talks. So I'm also going to talk about relationships and love today, but it'll be some of that will be a teaser for February. So it's we're Amy and I are going to be our marketing for February as well. So I'm contributing to that. I hope that's okay. So let's start with today. I'm talking about development, and I've talked a lot about wisdom in a few talks, and we were defining wisdom as having skills like emotional intelligence, realism being defined as having fewer cognitive distortions like mind reading and all or nothing thinking and catastrophizing and half a dozen others, empathy and compassion for others, gratitude for things in our everyday life, not taking things for granted. We habituate to a lot of things. Most of us woke up this morning and got out of bed, and myself included, I didn't look at my legs and say, wow, I can walk again today. That's amazing. We're used to these things. We can breathe, we can walk until we get sick or something doesn't work. So gratitude practice is dishabituating. Humility, we talked a lot about the extent to which we acknowledging that our perception is subjective and tentative, and there's a large scale of events that it's very hard to appreciate. You look up in the sky and the ocean and you get a little glimpse of that. Mindfulness, many people have, it's become a household word in the last couple of decades, being present, observing rather than reacting, expressing appreciation, uh, incorporating that practice into a meditation practice. Ego transcendence, which is probably the more difficult of the bunch, is getting past ourselves. And so there's also East and Western uh, aspects to this model. It's in the West, we live in individualist cultures. It's mostly about the self, a healthier self. In the East, it's more collectivist cultures. It's much more about transcending self. So it's for a long time, my question is, why can't we do both at the same time? So a healthier self while we get over ourselves. And it's a lifelong practice, lifelong journey. And so that's why couching it in developmental terms makes sense. So let me start with a nod to almost a dozen of the fields, people in this field of development, starting with Freud, shout out to him, who's one of the first people that talked about in the West developmental stages. So he talked about, whatever anybody thinks of Freud, and I have my own criticisms as well, but the notion of having stages of development, that things happen at certain early stages, have implications to later stages in life. He was one of the first people that made a big deal out of that, independent of specifics or yeah, there are some things that deserve some criticism, but of course, other things like defense mechanisms and things like that. How many of us will get through the day without a few juicy rationalizations, right? So some of that holds uh, usefulness. Eric Erickson, psychosocial development, our connection to others, and 8 stages of development across the lifespan for that. Piaget, early cognitive development, mostly childhood development. So things like object permanence and a 2-year-old, when a ball rolls behind a couch, 2-year-old thinks that ball disappeared forever. At some point between 2 and 3 or something along those lines, we develop object permanence. We realize the ball is there holding 2 dimensions at the same time. At 3 or 4 years old, it's hard to do. 5, 6 years old, we can. So, for example, one of the classic experiments is Piaget had a glass that was wide and short, and then he was filled with water, and then he had another glass that's very tall and thin, and he poured water from one to the other, and the children at 3 or 4 years old, because the tall one was thin, the water level was higher, and they said it's now more water, right? Even when he poured it right into it, they saw him pour it in. They still said it's more water because they couldn't take they couldn't hold 2 dimensions at the same time. So it was either tall or wide, not integrating both into assessing that. And you can see how we take that into our adult life. If we say, are you Democrat or Republican? Are you liberal or conservative? God forbid you should be both in different respects, right? Or different aspects of a personality, or not just 2 or 3, but 10 or 15. And you can take it to almost any part of life in terms of this complexity. So we carry some of this with us as we go. Kohlberg, moral development. He identified 3 stages of moral development. And so probably most famous, the stages of pre-conventional, conventional, and post-conventional. In pre-conventional, what motivates us is pleasure and pain. So very early infants and children. Conventional rules and laws. So adolescence, early adulthood. Post-conventional, what's moral and what's the right thing. And so let me give you an example. Let's say we're driving in a school zone. Um, why only go 25 miles an hour? Pre-conventional, because if not, I'll get a ticket and it's expensive and painful. I'll have to go to traffic school. I'll be punished. So pain and suffering. And I don't want a ticket, so I will go 25 miles an hour. That's the motivation. If we're in conventional stage of development, why not? Why go 25 miles an hour? Because that's the rule, that's the law. I can see the sign right there. It says 25 miles an hour. I'm going to heed the signs in the law and go 25 miles an hour. Post-conventional, why go 25 miles an hour? Because I don't want to hurt anyone. In all 3 cases, the car is only traveling 25 miles an hour for 3 completely different reasons in 3 very different stages of development. And we can keep going down the list. Howard Gardner, multiple intelligence, John Bowlby, attachment theory. We're going to talk more about that when we talk about relationships, secure and insecure attachment styles. A lot of that comes from infancy. Is the world safe and are people trustworthy? If the answer is no to one of those 2 things in infancy or early childhood, we're in for a tough time in adult relationships. And well, I'll give some examples of that. Keegan, developmental theory. Barbara Fredrickson, she was at Stanford for a long time, focused on positive emotions and development. Paul Baltus, one of the first scientists in the world to ever do research on wisdom and development. He passed away not that long ago. He created the Max Planck Institute in Berlin, Germany. So it was the for lifespan development, and so one of the 4 pillars of that was wisdom, and did a lot of research in that. And then Robert Sternberg here in the U.S. did a lot of early intelligence work, and then transitioned to wisdom research, and actually authored the first volume. Complete overview of wisdom research in 1990 and again in 2005. And he famously made some distinctions, for example, between intelligence, creativity, and wisdom. Intelligence enables us to solve problems quickly and efficiently. Creativity enables us to solve problems in a new way. Wisdom tells us which problems to solve. So when couples are arguing for 2 hours about who left the dish in the sink, it's probably not about the dishes. And so having a sense of that. Now, all these models are Western models and US, European mostly. Eastern models of development in Buddhism, Hinduism, Zen have been around a lot longer, for thousands of years, not just 100 years or so, and deserve a shout out. And we don't have as much time to go to do a deeper dive into those, although some of the wisdom skills like empathy, compassion, ego transcendence are obviously a nod to Eastern models. So it's painful to go this quickly through these very deep thinkers, but I want to at least do a shout out to them that we're standing on the shoulders of giants here who did a lot of heavy lifting for us. And so when we talk about developmental steps, most of us have already done quite a bit of development. So when we're 4 or 5 years old, when we're standing in a supermarket line and shouting that we want our chocolate now, and um, how many of us still do that, having tantrums at 4 or 5 years old? And I can see doing that over tiramisu, but chocolate. Uh, so I still have some work to do. So anyone who's still doing that and or anxiety about traffic, anger in traffic and things like that. So it may not be over the tricycle race that we didn't win when we were 5, but now it's about something else. And so some of the anxiety, stress, anger, fear are still there to some extent. So and the solution is not to repress any of this. If you repress anger, you get hypertension. If you express anger frequently, you get cardiovascular disease and all sorts of issues and conflicts in relationships. So that's neither is a solution. The solution is to shift our thinking and our view of ourselves and others in the world in such a way that's more mature, just like we've been doing since we were children. The the whole message here is to keep going, except to do it a lot faster. It took us decades to get from 5 years old to now. Do we really want to spend more decades to make these same strides in development? And the short answer is we don't have to anymore because now we've got a psychological science around what to go for. And if we practice it at high frequency, we're going to be able to achieve it much faster. I've talked to many, many 80 and 90-year-olds across my life personally and for my work. And the kinds of things they talk about are exactly these things. What do you wish you would have done differently when you were younger? Except now they're 80 or 90, so there's not that much time left. None of us, as soon as I say that, of course, none of us know how much time we have. Tomorrow is promised to no one. So someone may be 80 or 90, outlive us by a decade or two. So the ages and everything, but you see what we're getting at. Time is limited. What do we want to do with the time we have? If we live to be about 100, how many hours do you think we live? That's an interesting question, right? If we live to be 110 or so, which is optimistic, it's about 1 million hours. We sleep about 300,000 hours of that. We work 300, 400,000 hours. Here in the Bay Area, it's probably 600,000 hours of work. And by the time all is said and done, we have maybe 50,000 hours of free time. When we argue with someone and yelling and screaming, those are a couple of hours we're never getting back. So a lot of us are very satisfied by winning arguments. Like, oh, I really made my point and I won that argument. And yeah, but it cost us 2 precious hours, even if we did win an argument, whatever that means. And of course, in interpersonal relationships, winning an argument is imposing a war metaphor on a relationship, which is already a loss. Once you go to a war metaphor, it's not pretty. There's offense and defense and conflicts. And an alternative to that, for example, is dance metaphor, that we're coordinating life together. Trying to win an argument with someone you love is like dancing with them and stepping on their feet and trying to win the dance. It sounds bizarre, right? To even say it, to win the dance by stepping on their feet, nobody wins the dance. And so all this coordination comes back to the question of sometimes when I talk about anger management or reducing stress and anger and anxiety in life and fear to very, very low levels, an often retort is, well, but anger is normal. Fear is normal. Anxiety is normal. Absolutely. But the levels and the frequency and the duration and the intensity of those depends on the life stage we're in. At 1 year old, it's full, 90% of our day is filled with anxiety, fear, and anger and tantrums. At 2 or 3 years old, it goes down a bit. At 5 to 10 years old, it goes down even more. At 15, hopefully, we're no longer yelling and screaming every day, all day. So the word normal is a little misleading. It's normal at what is normal at what stage. And as we get more skillful in how we live our life with mindfulness, empathy, when we're frustrated, is it normal to get reactive to a friend or a parent or a partner? Sure. It's normal statistically. Most people do it. But as we learn mindfulness and emotional intelligence and empathy, we do it less. We wonder, I'm frustrated, but how does the other person feel? We start doing that more. And so you can see the arrow of where that lives. We start extrapolating from that, and we start realizing there are these different stages in our life. There's a fun joke of a little Johnny's drawing a picture in elementary school, and the teacher comes by and says, "What are you drawing?" And little Johnny says, "I'm drawing a picture of God." And the teacher sort of condescendingly says, "Yeah, but nobody knows what God looks like." And little Johnny beams with pride and says, "They will now." So it's very cute when little Johnny says that at 5, but at 35, we start looking at the DSM for schizophrenia diagnosis, right? So, so we start asking ourselves, what are some of these developmental stages? And usually they go from things like schizophrenia and anxiety disorders and so on, and they end in normal. And so most textbooks do this, Psych 1 textbooks, developmental textbooks. And so to me, that dramatically lacks ambition in terms of development. Normal is, well, normal, but there's other possibilities. And so I've identified these 7 stages of development from multiple literatures, the developmental literature, the clinical literature, cognitive literature, social psych literature. They all converge on these similar ideas once you read across literatures. Uh, so from the least functional, the least skillful to the most skillful, most functional developmentally. So that's the idea. So when you look at things like psychosis, arguably is some of the least functional, active hallucinations, delusions, schizophrenia, bipolar, things like this, where unless the person is under medication, it's very hard to function in life. There's the jokes around schizophrenias, and when I have jokes around these things, it's you should know it's not out of disrespect. I'm a clinical psychologist. I work with this for almost 30 years now. And it's out of the appreciation that bringing humor to anything, especially difficult things, is a great tool for coping. And it's not, and so it's out of that in that context. So a couple of jokes on that. And I've many clients that appreciate the humor and they, when they're grappling with some of this, to be able to have the permission to bring humor to some of these difficulties. So if someone says, my roommate says I have schizophrenia, jokes on him, I don't have a roommate. That's a schizophrenia joke. Or immediately when I got my medication for schizophrenia, my friends, or for multiple personalities, my friends won't talk to me anymore. There's these things where you bring some levity and lightheartedness to the most difficult of situations, because these folks have a very, very hard time in life. Luckily, there's many medications in the modern world. Everyone should know that for all of these things, schizophrenia, bipolar, and so on. All right, so stage 1 development. We'll talk more about it. Stage 2 development, we'll call it neuroses, phobias, panic disorders, rage, the personality disorders, narcissistic personality disorders, borderline personality disorders, some of the others. Life is still very difficult here. And I'm going to talk about relationships in each of these stages in short, and then flesh that out again in February. But again, these are the kinds of things I mean by stage 2. Life is very difficult. It's very hard to keep it together. It's very hard to coordinate jobs, not to lose jobs, not to lose friendships and relationships. There's another joke around that. what is it? Well, normal fears and anxiety, normal fears, normal anxiety. So normal is stage, from my point of view, is stage 3 of 7 stages. So that tells you a little bit about my perspective of what's possible and where many of us sit. A lot of anger, people are yelling at traffic when people have their hopes to do something, catch a movie or go somewhere or have plans for Thanksgiving or anything else. They have a great deal of attachment to that and low flexibility. So if it doesn't pan out, they get really pissed. In terms of physical health and wellness, that's typically not that great. So they're not taking care of themselves as much. The US, for example, it changes across countries, but different cultures. Uh, the US has quite the obesity epidemic. My family included have some strong genetic predispositions for gaining weight. But as we like to point out, just because we have genetic predispositions for anything doesn't mean we're stuck with anything. So um, with enough work, as you'll see as I talk about some of these further stages, we can, for example, starting with counseling and therapy, stage 4, there'll be a lot less fear, less phobias, less anxiety, less anger, taking deep breaths when we're angry, taking breaks when we're angry, noticing some of the cognitive distortions, all or nothing thinking, we're catastrophizing, we're fortune telling. This starts happening with therapy. Stage 4, people get better at that so they can coordinate better with others. They can reduce their own stress and fear and so on with therapy. And it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And I'm a counselor too. I have a private practice, and sometimes I'm embarrassed to charge for these things. I have to eat and pay my rent too, I guess, so I do. But it's it's uh it's something that has some benefit, but again, lacks ambition, in my opinion, the current state of clinical settings. And the joke around that is if you look at all 4 of the first 4, so the joke is that psychotics build castles in the sky, neurotics live in them, and psychologists and psychiatrists collect the rent. And it's both funny and sad at the same time. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what, at least in my opinion, what therapy is not yet doing, and certainly in the 3 stages before that are not doing. They acquiesce to living with still uh, quite a bit of fear and stress and anger. It's less than the previous stages, but it's still quite a bit there. So, for example, in relationships, couples yell at each other. And then hopefully, if they're skillful, they apologize afterwards, right? And then they tell their friends, yeah, we had a bad fight, but then we said I was sorry and we made up. And it's all good. Okay, that's better than not apologizing. Let's just acknowledge that first. It's better than continuing to yell and scream for longer. That's also good. So it beats the last 3 stages where that can go on for hours, days, weeks, years of animosity and grudges. And so it beats that. Um, but it's not as ambitious as feeling some frustration. And as soon as we feel frustration, we say, okay, I'm frustrated. That's one of half a dozen opportunities to practice. What are the opportunities to practice? The big ones are frustration, irritation, anger. Those are kind of in a continuum of anger: frustration, irritation, anger, rage. Your frustration may be on 0 to 100 frustration, you can call it a 10 or 20, irritation 30, 40, anger 50, 60, rage 80, 90. Then it gets to aggression and violence. It'd be nice if at 10 or 20, we say, oh, I'm frustrated, opportunity to practice, before it gets to irritation and anger. But a lot of people, when they get angry and they identify themselves as having anger issues, and a lot of my clients included students, and they say, I can't help it. I just go from 0 to anger and nothing flat. Yes, now at this stage of development. And they say, well, anger is normal. It's human to be angry. Yes, it's human to be angry at that stage of development, at this frequency and intensity. Is it normal to yell at traffic? Sadly, yes. Statistically, a lot of people yell at traffic. Um, they say, all sorts of colorful 4-letter words. and they gesticulate with one of their fingers, and they're very proud of that one finger apparently in traffic. And and that's normal because a lot of people do it, and everybody nods. Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm pretty frustrated in traffic too, and everybody nods and colludes on this. But imagine if we did that for yelling in the supermarket line when most of us don't. And when somebody does, once in a while, right, somebody's yelling at the supermarket line, we're all kind of looking at him or her as it's like, you really got to keep it together. I mean, we're all in a line here. We're all trying to get out of the supermarket. We're all trying to get our food. What's the deal? So it's not statistically normal. And so the point is that just because something's statistically normal doesn't mean it's ambitious. And we want to do a lot more than what's the norm. And we now have existence proof in psychological science for about 30 years of what in the field of positive psychology of what's possible in terms of fear, anxiety, stress, anger, depression, conflict. It's a lot more than what therapy has done in 100 years. And in terms of health and well-being too. So for example, I have on here not just to be more fit, but to run a 10K, for example, or to be a lot more fit. Excuse me for a second. My cat is scratching the door to leave. I'll be right back. All right. It'd be funny to talk about empathy and compassion, ignore my cat's needs, right? It's it reminded me of a good study once that they did during a positive psychology conference of empathy and compassion. And this is a good anecdote about experiment about the difference between intellectually knowing something and embodying it and actually practicing in your everyday life, using opportunities to practice in everyday life. And that is at this conference, there was a big deal, keynote speaker, empathy and compassion. The whole conference was empathy and compassion. They did something clever where the two buildings of the conference, there was about a 5-minute walk between the two buildings. So they had a Confederate pretend to be hurt on a sidewalk between the two buildings, and they looked at the number of people that stopped to help this person at an empathy compassion conference, right? And and most of the people walked by him. Some people walked over him, and very few, small minority, stopped to help. And this is an empathy and compassion conference. So what is it about the intellectual ability that's not yet being embodied emotionally or personality wise or something? And so I want to talk a little bit more about that because there's obvious complexity here. And so, for example, fear is a key aspect of life that, and you can see why it's appearing multiple times here in what I'm describing. Uh, at a 20,000 foot level, one of the goals we should all have working on our fears. Because when fear is high, most of the other wisdom skills, this development is highly truncated. It's pretty hard to be empathic to somebody else when we're in deep anxiety. And fear is anxiety provoking. Anxiety means there's a lot of fear there. They're synergistic to one another in an unpleasant way. Phobias are obviously intense fears. But even the everyday fears and the anxiety that comes from that, and sometimes the anger that comes from that, is really hindering our ability. We're like this. It's pretty hard to live like this and to be open like this to others, including ourselves. So, strong suggestion. This side note, we can flesh this out more in the discussion. But anytime you feel any anxiety, there's a fear, likely fear there. If there's fear there, there's probably cognitive distortions there. If there are cognitive distortions there, like fortune telling, catastrophizing, and so on, mind reading, and then there's something to work on. Let's shift from the cognitive distortions to more realistic thinking. That will reduce fear, reduce anxiety, and enable us to more practically open up. So just to say I want to love is hollow. That's great. How? That's where the rubber meets the road. Through painful work of identifying and reducing our fears. Without that, it's completely unrealistic to say I want to love deeply and wisely and unselfishly. And I want to talk about the relationship version of all this in a second. So we go to positive psychology where mindfulness, empathy, compassion, gratitude are at higher levels. Then we'll get to wisdoms, level 6, stage 6, where mindfulness, empathy, gratitude, non-attachment is very high, much higher levels. We're more in service to others. I don't have to, I'm preaching to the choir here literally. And wellness is at higher levels. We've practiced more of it. There is no endpoint. It's just more of it. It's just more skillful version than what we used to. When you find yourself being judgmental about where you're at right now, all you have to do is a little bit more than you did yesterday or last week. That's all. If you are on a couch for the past year, just walk around the block this week, slowly. If you walked around the block for the past year, do it twice this week or next month. Just do a little more than your previous self. Just be a little more mindful than your previous self. That's all we can do. And if any of us that does that, if we're 1% better than last week or last month, 1% more skillful in mindfulness, empathy, compassion, gratitude, humility, then we're living successfully. We're moving in a wisdom direction, and it's going to be correlated with a lot of well-being and positive relationships and other things. It's when we stand still, or worse, go backwards in terms of practicing fear, practicing anxiety, practicing anger. What does practicing anger mean? Being in traffic and yelling at someone. That's practicing anger. Practicing fear, thinking, oh, what if my boss tells me so and so? Or what if this talk doesn't go well? Happens then? It's going to be horrible. I'm now practicing fear and anger, and then practicing the cognitive distortions that give rise to the fear and anger. So, someone famously said, we can practice fear, anger, conflict, or we can practice mindfulness, empathy, compassion, love. And the question rose, well, which one wins? And the answer is the one we give more oxygen to. So we get to decide which one we give more oxygen to. We have control over that. In existential psychology, for example, the notion of freedom and choice every day presents us with lots of choices as opportunities to practice one or the other. Do we practice anger, or do we want to practice empathy or compassion or decatastrophizing, realizing, yeah, that's frustrating, but it's not the end of the world. We can practice that 99 times a day, right? So then we get to the wisdom, and then if we think about a stage, I'll come back to the relationship part, but enlightenment, just I'm, well, let's just acknowledge the arrogance of even talking about what enlightenment is. Okay, that's first stage. I don't pretend to know what it is, but I've read Buddhism, I read Siddhartha, Gautama's life, the Buddha, other people, the life of saints and others. Uh, the arrow keeps going. It's the same developmental stage we're all on, except they keep going. These people have kept going. And it's most of us at stage 3 have a pretty good selfishness. It's about me, it's about I, especially in Western cultures. So we become less and less selfish from the age of 1, 5, 10, 15, 20. But we kind of asymptote out at 20, 25 and kind of coast for the rest of our adult life pretty much. And sometimes become even more selfish towards later years and old age. Um, but if the selfishness keeps going down, uh, something pretty dramatic starts happening more and more throughout the lifespan. And if you think about stages of enlightenment, it's just an, an increase in selflessness. And that leads to an increase in things like empathy and compassion for others. And that starts bringing in other things. Everything is interconnected. It brings us things like living with meaning. What do we do in our everyday life that gives us meaning? Because that's highly correlated with happiness and well-being. Money and status, zero correlation with happiness. Once you can pay your bills. If for folks who can't, who live month to month, that's tough, very tough. It's a difficult life, and certainly homelessness and hunger is a difficult life. Let's acknowledge that. At the same time, people who can pay their bills, at least in a basic way, have a roof over our head. If we have food on the table and a roof over our head, waiting for more of in waiting for more resources in order to be happier is a really bad strategy based on the data. Because if we don't have enough food on the table and so on, as we get enough to pay our bills and have food on the table, happiness does go up, of course. But once we do, it flattens out completely. So the person making 50,000 a year here that has a roof over their head and food on the table, and a person making 100,000, 200,000, 500,000, a million, 10 million, it's a flat line. So if I were to ask you, this person making 10 million, what's the difference between that person and this person? Are they happier than this person here making 1 million or 200,000? You can't tell me if it's a flat line. You have no idea the level of happiness. This is the level of happiness across all the incomes. Again, once you can pay basic bills. What does that mean? It means once you can pay basic bills, there's hundreds of studies now that tell us we need to shift our attention to something else if we want to be happy and embrace wellness. And that is three things. One is meaning. Are we doing on a day-to-day things with meaning? And meaning to us, not to anybody else. I can be a garbage man and still have meaning in that. In fact, I talked to a garbage man sanitation engineer, if you embrace political correctness. And I thought, okay, this is a fascinating. I never got a chance to talk to someone who does this. The person was at a party, and I said, "Wow, that's a tough life." He goes, "No, I really like my job." Really? Yeah, I'm pretty happy. Huh? Tell me about that. And he said, first of all, I work. I'm done with my work around 10 a.m. and I have the whole day to do whatever I want. It's like, okay, that's more than I have. That I could see how that would make you happy. Then he said, I said, does it give you meaning? And he said, yeah. I said, how so? He said, if I don't do my job, nobody goes anywhere. The streets will be filled with garbage. So it's because of me, doctors get to work and heal people. Because of me, attorneys help protect people. And because of me, teachers get to teach in schools. Wow. Yeah, that's true. So it doesn't matter what our job is. It's how we frame our job. It's what we identify and read into it. So rather than begrudge us, rather than saying, oh my God, I have to go to work today, if we find meaning in what we do, and this developmentally can increase over time because it takes practice to do that. And we can also shift what we do. If we're doing something that we tried really hard to find meaning and we couldn't, well, maybe we should shift jobs that does give us meaning, right? And so we do more and more of that. And as we go through stages of development, so meaning, the other two are in service to others. Are we doing things in service to others in addition to giving us meaning in what we do? So almost any job, again, picking up garbage can be in service to others if that's how we're viewing it. If we view it just as I'm dealing with garbage every day, it could be miserable. But if I'm doing it in service to help society achieve things and help people get to their work and so on, suddenly it just gained a lot of meaning. And the third one is, are we actualizing our potential? And only we can say whether we are or not our parents who told us what to do, not our colleagues who are aiming for the same job we happen to have. If I'm an accountant and I always loved working with animals, I'm going to be miserable. But if I decide to be a vet, I'll be very happy. And vice versa. If I'm working with animals and I never particularly like animals, that would be kind of sad, but that's a different conversation. If I really like numbers and I never actualize that as a mathematician or an accountant or something like that, I would be sad in the other direction. So are we actualizing our potential? What is that we have passion for, and are we doing that? I was talking about psychology and how we think and lessons in life since I was 5. I started out in bioengineering for 3 years. It was all very interesting. I took a lot of calculus and physics and chemistry and biology and saw how the world works in lots of ways and science. But then around the third year, I was starting to take biochem labs and I had to start memorizing 1,000 bioorganic formulas. The only people that were taking those classes now are people going to med school. And I started complaining to my friend that I've known for a long time and said, you're starting to sound kind of grouchy. Why don't you just do psychology and philosophy that you always read that in your spare time? One of those moments in life where the heavens open up and the angels sing and there's this epiphany. Wow, I can actually do what I have a passion for. Yeah. it's pretty hard to get to the advanced stages of development without doing that. We'll be too grouchy and angry and frustrated. We'll be too, we'll be reactive. We'll be in conflict with others because we're grouchy about our own life. So, but if we do that and embrace it, not only are likely to do the three things, meaning and service to others and actualizing our potential, that are the most highly correlated with happiness and well-being, but we'll be going through the other things too, almost by definition, the wisdom skills. It's much more, it's easier to be mindful and present and emotionally intelligent with people we find interest with and share similar passions. And we go toward, and if the pointer keeps going to development, these are the kinds of things we're going to see. Wellness, almost mystical experience, not just uh, love for not just a wise love for our partner or our children, but wise love for all beings. And so I wanted to share that if you think about the relationships version of all this, what do we see in each stage of development? And I'm going to significantly flesh this out in February. So that's a little advertising to get people to come to that, right? It's the teaser. But jealousy, legal conflicts, yelling insults, lots of breakups. They rarely hold relationships for too long. They're mostly concerned with themselves and not others, highly dependent on others and so on, including this is what infants and children are like, and adults who are in this stage of development. Next stage of development, stage two, still plenty of jealousy, intense conflict, yelling insults, but it's at lower levels. So it's the same as stage one, except it's now moderate to, a slightly lower level. Still not inspirational, but at least it's a little more functional. They can hold some jobs and some relationships for some period of time, but still plenty of conflict in others. The so-called normal, third stage, lots of jealousy still. I've I've had hundreds of clients in this stage of development where they came to therapy, so they were trying to get from stage three to stage four. But for example, a couple sitting in a restaurant that I was working with, and every time she would look around the restaurant, he would say, "Who are you looking at? Are you looking at that guy over there? Are you looking at this person over there?" And he would get incredibly jealous to the point where she would have to just look down or look just almost like blinders on. How sad is that, right? It's sad on two fronts. One, it's sad that he has such low self-esteem that he has to that he's so scared and anxious that his partner might find somebody else attractive. That's incredibly sad. And it's sad that she's enabling that behavior by allowing him to say things like that instead of healthy boundaries. If I was in a restaurant and someone were to tell me, "What are you looking at?" "I'm looking at this beautiful place and there's art on the walls and so on." "Yeah, but weren't you also looking at that beautiful woman over there?" "Yeah, I was. She's beautiful. And the art is beautiful and the restaurant looks really nice." And you see what we're getting at? And if somebody has a problem with that, then they need to deal that with a therapist about that, not with me and chastising me for appreciating beauty. Now, if we happen to have decided about a monogamous relationship, and there's the in February we're going to talk more about different models of relationship and different stages of development, like monogamy and polyamory and so on. That's even more of a teaser. But you can see where from stage four to stage five, more positive psychology beyond therapy, it's not just yelling and not screaming at your partner. By the way, every semester I teach 4 or 5 classes a year of undergraduates, so 18 to 22-year-olds generally. And I take a poll in every class. How many people have had relationships without any yelling or screaming? And out of usually 40 to 50 people in each class, 1 or 2 people raise their hand. At most, sometimes none. This is 40, 50 people every semester, 4 or 5 classes. We're talking out of 300, 400 students a year, at least, over 25 years. Patterns all be the same, all 25 years teaching. So the notion of having a relationship where there's no yelling or screaming is foreign to most people, sadly. And in part because of being stuck in second or third stage development. And then if it gets bad enough, they go to fourth stage and counseling, therapy, and so on, and yelling and screaming goes down a few notches. But again, you don't you don't read too many Shakespearean sonnets about the inspiration of screaming less at your partner. That's so we want something else. We want more impressive love. Compersion. What is the opposite of jealousy? Most people don't. If I asked you what's the opposite of jealousy, what do you come up with? Think about that for a second. We don't know what the opposite is. The concept is foreign to us. And compersion is the opposite. Compersion is joy for the other person's joy. So if somebody saw a beautiful painting of a beautiful person, it doesn't matter. Either way, they appreciated beauty, they enjoyed seeing the beauty. Compersion. I'm joyful for their joy. But when our self-esteem is too low, or we doubt our mate value, and if my partner thinks somebody else is beautiful or amazing, they may leave me for this other person. And if they do, that's going to be horrible. Will it? It may be unpleasant. Breakups are no fun. I've had a few. They're no fun. I'm not pretending they are. But catastrophic? No. What happens then? We move on with our life and maybe learn to be less jealous and maybe use it as a masterful opportunity to practice and to keep going on the stages of development rather than getting stuck in a stage with jealousy. And what happens to the next relationship? I know what people do. They look at other people, they get attracted, they either start an affair, they lie about it, they betrayal, then they leave you. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make my next partner make their life a living hell by asking them where they are every 5 minutes, where did they go, who are they with, give them the third degree to make sure. That's called mate guarding, to make sure they don't leave me. And if I make their life miserable enough, they'll stay forever, right? It's like, no, that is exactly what leads people to leave. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, jealousy. It's a really bad strategy in life if you want to maintain a mate. And so, but evolution gave us anger, fear, anxiety, jealousy, and all these things. So we think, oh, well, it's normal. It's just because something is an evolutionary default doesn't mean it's optimal. Anger management, anger is one of the most common evolutionary emotions we have. It's universal across all cultures. Is it optimal? What's the adaptive function of anger? Clearly, fear, adaptive function of fear is if you're walking on a cliff, step away from the cliff. If you hear a roaring tiger, run, right? So fear clearly has adaptive functions. Anger does too. If someone takes our food, if someone threatens us and so on, anger can protect us. So it can make changes in the world in ways, if the world is in a form we don't like. Okay, that makes sense. But can we do something else? Yes, assertiveness. Assertiveness is the antidote to anger. I see something in the world I don't like. I think it should change. I see injustice. I think that should be addressed. I can change that with assertiveness. I don't need to go to this default of anger. There are more sophisticated ways to change the world and to address things in relationships. Rather than yelling, screaming, and name calling, I can say, I really don't like what just happened. We need to talk about that. Okay? Well, we do that. And so you can see where all this is going. More advanced compersion, empathy, more flexibility, more loving. If my wife and I got married last year, it's an 8-year relationship. We got married last year. It's still fun to say the name of that, the transition, even though it seems almost beside the point. Because we've both living developmentally oriented lives, and it seems like the depths of our connection and love was such that marriage was by the way. But if she already tells me something was wrong or I did something that made her feel uncomfortable and I didn't pick up on it, I already see that as a missed opportunity before she even had to say anything. Much less if she says it for me to get reactive or defensive, or if she's already saying she's uncomfortable in some way, then it's already an opportunity to learn something. It's an opportunity to address something to make her life better. What's more important, her wellness or me being right? There's a decision to make. And being right, sadly, is the common factor in most fighting in couples, family and romantic relationships. And so you can see where all this is going. And if you think about what enlightenment models look like, it's not just love for your partner, it's love for all beings. So I've been vegetarian for 40 years because very early on I thought I wouldn't want to be eaten and tortured first. Why impose that on other beings? It didn't seem that complicated until I realized the world does that a lot. And there's a big difference, by the way, between free range. I'm not an extremist who say, well, we should never have animals as pets. I have a cat that's you just saw running out the door, and even I don't eat meat, but eating meat that's free range and the animal had a good life makes all the difference. For us, having a good life before from birth to death makes all the difference. It's not living in itself, it's having a good life of wellness and enjoy and self-actualization and helping others do the same, right? That's what makes life meaningful. So helping animals do that too. So what's the implication? Subsidizing free range grass fed is the title, grass fed typically. And sometimes it's a misnomer, free range grass fed. You have to kind of look into it a bit, but grass fed typically has that title where animals are simply treated well, they're not tortured. 90% of animals are tortured before they killed. Years of torture. And by buying them all wrapped up in plastic, we're contributing to that industry. It's hard to practice empathy and compassion and still do that. So in Buddhism and in more Eastern traditions and the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path and things like that, what is what we say, what we do, what we feel need to be in harmony with one another. If they're not, there's going to be problems and it's going to be hollow. So as you see the different stages of development, there's also career choices. We didn't talk much about that, but are we choosing careers that are self-actualizing our potential in service to others? And do they feel like, are they satisfying? So it's here's a nice cartoon I like on mindfulness. As you travel life's highway, don't forget to stop and eat the roses. Um, we're all in the same boat, whether we're cows, humans, or anything else. If we remember to do these practices, that makes a big difference. The early stages of development are challenging. It's there's famously when you're in stage 1 or 2, the mental health helpline, right? The joke is if you're obsessive compulsive, press 1 repeatedly. If you're codependent, get someone else to press it for you. If you're delusional, press 7 and call, to be transferred to the mothership. If you have multiple personalities, press 3, 4, 5, and 6. If you have low self-esteem, hang up. All our representatives are busy right now. If you have Tourette syndrome, just say shit after the tone. If you have schizophrenia, whichever button you press, your voice will be recorded and passed on to, the government. If you have paranoia, we all know why you're calling. Don't hang up, it's too late. If you have depression, just hang up now. It wasn't going to help anyway. It's we can make jokes about these things, but we're all in the same boat. We all have a little bit of that. It's just when there was extreme versions of that in early stages of development, they're completely dysfunctional and we can't keep a job and friendship. But at stage 3, so-called normal, we still have plenty of that. And so it causes conflict, it causes ill health, anger, stress. Anger and stress are the number 1 killers in the world. Not wars, not famine, not COVID. Anger and stress kill more people by far through hypertension and cardiovascular disease than all of those combined. And that's something we can do a lot about by continuing the stages of development. So when we look at relationships offer dramatically dramatic opportunities for doing all that. And so when you look at a couple of more jokes I'll share for relationships, more to come when we talk about that in February, but things like, what's the difference between early stage development and later stage development of some of these interactions between couples. So, if the secure attachment style is one of the things that you talk about. If secure attachment, somebody says, I love you, the other person says, I love you too. Come here, you adorable human. Insecure attachment, first person says, I love you. Second person says, that's a lot of words. It's if one person says, in later stages of development, I need some time to regulate. The other person says, of course, I'm here when you're ready. Early stages, like avoidant, insecure attachment style, I need some time to regulate. Same. Let's take a separate vacation. It's like, wait a minute, that's not what I was saying. Secure attachment, come cuddle with me. Insecure attachment, come cuddle. No, that's too close. No, come closer. Wait, that's too close. Okay, fine, stay. That's, there's this conflict between these things. Uh, Things like stage two, the personality disorders, narcissism is very common, sadly, and borderline personality disorders, but narcissism's something like a husband saying, uh, I tried seeing it from your perspective, and wow, I understand why you married me. I'm so amazing. Yeah, narcissism. Wife says, we need to talk. Husband, I knew it. I'll get my suitcase. It's like, wow, that happened fast. Overgeneralization, fortune telling, catastrophizing. Wife says, I'm frustrated with you. Husband, well, I'm frustrated that you're frustrated. Now what? Right? There's all these examples. If we get to stage three, it's better, but it's not necessarily great. Are you mad at me? No. What about now? Still no. Okay. But you paused before you said no. What does that mean? Um, in apologies, husband says, I'm sorry, I forgot, and I totally get why you're upset. Um, let's see. Uh, I don't have the other version of that actually. We can make that up. Um, or the husband responds, I said I'm sorry. Why are you still talking? It's like that's not good. So that lacks empathy. A lot of times, again, in counseling, what I'm calling stage four, a lot of counselors said, okay, you talk for a couple of minutes. Well, couples are yelling past each other. The lesser of evils is to do this behavioral intervention. You talk for 2 minutes, you talk for 2 minutes. Don't say anything while the other person talks for 2 minutes. Even that, many couples can't do. They just interject. No, no, that's not right. No, no, no. Okay. Let's work on that piece at least. But that's not inspirational because most of the time, and I've seen this for 20 years, 25 years now, you're sitting there with a couple in front of you, and okay, the other person starts talking. What does the first person do? It's like, okay, let's look at my watch. Is it 2 minutes yet? Okay, are you done yet? That's not inspiring. There's not much empathy there. So going back to the wisdom skills of what are the fundamentals, empathy, compassion, humility. Why listen for 2 minutes? Because I may not know something. This person may actually express something I don't know, humility. Or they're expressing something they feel, empathy. And I'm interested in that. If I want to love them deeply, I care about how they feel. That's why I should shut up for 2 minutes. So you see where this is going. It's a very practical approach to moving through these stages of development. Uh, and a lot of times we don't give that space to each other. And another example of stage four counseling. One person says, this is frustrating. The other says, that's completely makes the skillful version. That makes sense. I'll feel that way too. But in stage three or two, one says, this is frustrating. The other says, yeah, imagine how I feel. Immediately taking it to me. But enough about you, enough about me. Let's talk about you. How do you feel about me? Right? That's the old joke about early stages. Let's see. Yeah, just one more. Uh, One person says in the emotional regulation attempt, that's common one, Gottman and others push for emotional regulation. But when you have an unskilled version versus a more skillful version, the skillful version, I need a minute to regulate so I don't say something unwise or hurtful. And the other person can say, take all the time you need, take a few minutes. Stage four or five, stage one or two or three, I need a minute to regulate so I don't say something foolish or unwise. And the other person says, if I said the next thing I'm thinking, we're both going to need a minute. Um, there's so the humor around all this is substantial, and there have been people in the past, Gandhi, informed us of these things. You must be the change you want to see in the world. A lot of people say, I want to find someone that X, that's kind, that's empathic, that's wise, that's great. You first, right? So we need to become what we want to find, and we won't have trouble finding it. Whatever skills, whoever we become is like pouring water on cement. It finds the cracks. The world will find us. It'll become who we become. The reason we're all here today is we self-selected ourselves into this group where we have joint motivations and passions. We found each other because of our joint passions. We didn't have to, we didn't have to, look for 50 more years. It's because of our passion that drove us to seek out and find others with similar passions. It's the same thing with skill sets. And so, others before us said all this. Big fan of John Lennon. Imagine all the people living life in peace. It feels like we're dreamers, but we're not the only one. And so, living with peace, with wisdom, with love, that it goes a long way. John F. Kennedy has this, let me just play this 30 seconds.
Again. And if we cannot end now our differences, at least we can help make the world safe for diversity. For in the final analysis, our most basic common link is that we all inhabit this small planet. We all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's futures, and we are all mortal.
A lot of wisdom in that, right? It's the 20,000-foot level of all this. But to achieve that and to be able to think that way takes a lot of practices of reducing fears and mediating conflicts and building on that and being healthier physically and so on. They all interact together. So that's the ambitious version of all this. And of course, and just let's finish with this. Margaret Mead, one of my favorite quotes: never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And so you and we together are doing this and talking about this. You can make more of a difference than you think by embracing these practices, facilitating your own development, and helping others do the same. That's what has made all the difference. Thank you for your attention.
Okay. I think you have to stop this. Oh, there we go. I was like, what's going on with the screen share? Oh my goodness, that was so jam-packed. I can't even begin to read all the notes that I have taken. So we are going to jump into the Zoom room now because I know that there's a lot to unpack here, and I'm sure there are so many questions bubbling up for everybody. And we are so grateful for you, Shani. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your wisdom, your expertise, and your spirit.
Thank you.
You're amazing.
Is
Thank
it
you,
the
love.
same thing?
So
Do we hop off?
no, so we're gonna get off this, that we're live streaming right now on Facebook. So we're gonna get off this in your email. I have the other link, and
Okay,
it's also
sounds
on
good.
our homepage, unityinspiredliving.org. So everybody, if you go there, you'll see a picture of Jesse and Shawnee, and then the link into the Zoom room. And so come one, come all, let's meet in there and continue the discussion.
All right, I'll see you there in a
Thank you,
minute.
Shawnee.
Thank
Much
you.
appreciation and love. Shine
Likewise.
on, bright souls.
See
See
you there.
you next week in person in Antioch. Blessings.